So today, 63, right? Sixty-three says, I have explained to you this knowledge. Deliberate and do what you wish to do. Okay. Here we go. So we'll do the Sanskrit and translation in unison. Pages are different, right? 1864. Sarva guyatamam bhuya shrinu me paramam vachaha ishtosi me dridham iti tato vakshyami te hitam. Translation. Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you the most confidential part of knowledge. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. Text 65. Manmana bhavaman bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mam evaishyasi tatyam te pratijane priyosime. Translation. Always think of me and become my devotee. Worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Text 66. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayashyami ma shuchaha. Translation. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. Text 67. Idam te na tapaskyaya nabhyathaya kadachana na cha shushushave vachyam na cha mangyo bhyasuyati. Translation. This confidential knowledge may not be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me. Text 68. Ya idam paramam guhyam madbhakteshvavidhasyati bhaktim mayi param kritva mame vaishyatya samshayaha. Translation. For one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me. Text 69. Na cha tasma manusyeshu kaschin me priyakritamaha bhavita na cha me tasmad anya priyataro bhuvi. Translation. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. Text 70. Adhyashyate chaya imam dharmyang sambhadam avayoho jnana yagyena tenaham ishtasyam iti me mati. Translation. And I declare that he who studies this sacred conversation worships me by his intelligence. Text 71. Shraddhavan anusuyascha shinuyat apiyo naraha sopi mukta subhalokan prapnuyat punya karmanam. Translation. And one who listens with faith and without envy becomes free from sinful reaction and attains to the planets where the pious dwell. Text 72. Kachchid etach trutang partha tvayai kagrena chetasa kachchid ajnana sangmoha Pranatshtas te dhananjaya. Translation. O conqueror of wealth, Arjuna, have you heard this attentively with your mind? And are your illusions and ignorance now dispelled? Text 73. Arjuna uvacha nashto moha smartir labdha tvat prasadan maya chuta stitosmi gata sandeha karishye vachanam tava. Translation. Arjuna said, My dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy, and I am now firm and free from doubt, and am prepared to act according to your instructions. Text 74. Sanjaya uvacha ityaham vasudevasya Bhartasya cha mahatmanaha Sangvadam imam ashrosham Adbhutam romaharshanam. Translation. Sanjaya said, Thus have I heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna, and so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end. Could you turn down the sensitivity on this one? It's on the small unit. This one. The one next to that. Yeah, if you turn down the mic, it's sensitive. Okay, that's probably good. Maybe a little down. Maybe the other one. Yeah, turn it all the way down. Let's test it. Try them both. We'll test it. Try the other one. All the way down. This is the first one. Turn it about to middle. Thank you. Okay. So now we'll go back. We'll try to read some purports. I'll try to give some brief additions, or rather, some brief elaborations if required. So we have chapter 18, text 64. Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you the most confidential part of knowledge. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. Purport. The Lord has given Arjuna confidential knowledge of the Supersoul within everyone's heart, and now he is giving the most confidential part of this knowledge. Just surrender. Personality you've got at the of Bhagavad Gita is not understood but by one who is actually very dear to Krishna. What Krishna is saying in this connection is the most essential part of all living entities. What is the most important instruction in all the Vedas? Surrender. And what is that? Another way to say that? Okay. And at the end of the 9th chapter, it says, you can look. Just always think of me. Right. So this will be mentioned the next text, and Prabhupada is basically he's been explaining this, the whole time, throughout the whole Bhagavad Gita. As Prabhupada mentioned, it's also spoken in which chapter? Chapter? You can look. This instruction, just always think of me, is in chapter 9 as well. Chapter 9, text 34. So what are the conditions here? Why is Krishna speaking this to Arjuna? Because he is a very dear friend. And non-envious, very dear friend, non-envious. Did you say something? Devotee. Right. So, what I like about this verse is that Krishna, as a teacher, he asks his student to hear from him. That's pretty humble. He says, please hear from me. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. So there is something that always struck me, or always kind of impressed me. Prabhupada describes through some different recountings to his disciples that his father would chastise him sometimes if required. Prabhupada describes how his father would say, I do not like to chastise you, but even Lord Chaitanya's father used to instruct his son. So do not be offended, this is for your benefit. And so Krishna is using this too. He says, hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. What is the word for benefit? You can look. What is the word for benefit? It's right here on the verse. Sorry, Hitam, right. So it's for te hitam. Therefore, tato vyakshami. I am therefore speaking for your benefit. Very nice. And the disciple who always feels that way, he makes advancement. Prabhupada, they're not just speaking for any other reason. Krishna has spoken, and Krishna is speaking for Arjuna's benefit, for my benefit. So we should never consider that trying to exploit us. We don't unnecessarily we understand that's how things work. So we don't necessarily unnecessarily chastise somebody or decry them for feeling a little bit defensive. But that's why the teacher, our Krishna is speaking to Arjuna, please hear from me. I'm speaking for your benefit. Just to reassure the disciple or the student, the devotee, that this is good for you. So we can actually see how caring Krishna is. Krishna is very caring. And if you read the translations again and again, you see how sweetly he speaks to Arjuna. It's amazing. It's just completely amazing. Such respect, such tact, such poetry he speaks to Arjuna. Of course, the fruit is even sweeter and sweeter because it's been picked by the beak of, so to speak. When a fruit is picked by a beak of a parrot, it becomes sweeter. Which is strange. But we have received these transcendental translations from Srila Prabhupada, which are perfectly, worded to awaken or arouse the dormant affection and attraction for the ever-sweet Krishna. And this Bhagavad Gita is particularly very sweet for the devotees who make advancement. Not to be forgotten or shunned or depreciated in any way. This Gita is ever sweet for the devotees who are very advanced. So let's go on here. We should all take this instruction. It's the most important instruction. It's the essence. Just always think of me, which is the practical exhibition of surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, text 65. Always think of me and become my devotee. Worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Purport. The most confidential part of knowledge is that one should become a pure devotee of Krishna and always think of him and act for him. One should not become an official meditator. Life should be so molded that one will always have the chance to think of Krishna. One should always act in such a way that all his daily activities are in connection with Krishna. He should arrange his life in such a way that throughout the 24 hours he cannot but think of Krishna. And the Lord's promise is that anyone who is in such pure Krishna consciousness will certainly return to the abode of Krishna, where he will be engaged in the association of Krishna face to face. This most confidential part of knowledge is spoken to Arjuna because he is the dear friend of Krishna. Everyone who follows the path of Arjuna can become a dear friend to Krishna and obtain the same perfection as Arjuna. Did I say that right? Everyone who follows the path of Arjuna can become a dear friend of Krishna and obtain the same perfection as Arjuna. These words stress that one should concentrate his mind upon Krishna, the very form with two hands carrying a flute, the bluish boy with a beautiful face and peacock feathers in his hair. There are descriptions of Krishna found in the Brahma Samhita and other literatures. One should fix his mind on this original form of Godhead Krishna. He should not even divert his attention to other forms of the Lord. The Lord has multi-forms such as Vishnu, Narayana, Rama, Varaha, etc. But a devotee should concentrate his mind on the form that was present before Arjuna. Concentration of the mind on the form of Krishna constitutes the most confidential part of knowledge, and this is disclosed to Arjuna because Arjuna is the most dear friend of Krishna's. Okay, so how do you think of somebody that you've never seen before? You have to hear about them. Very nice. or you have to, basically that's it. If you just think about it, you try to see somebody, visualize somebody that you've never seen. Krishna Shram, can we get a mic for Prabhuji? Krishna Shravan says, one can see their picture or statue. Have it ready. So, this is very important. Therefore, the wonderful mercy of literatures about Krishna, right? Which Prabhupada describes here. What is the word? Named. I forgot what you call it, but there's one that's named here. Which is it? The Brahma Samhita, right? We got to speak about one verse this morning. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachit Ananda Vigraha Adir Govinda Sarva Karna Karnam. Sarva Karna Karnam, cause of all causes. So he's the supreme controller, and his body is made of Satchit Ananda. His body is Satchit Ananda, and he doesn't have a beginning. He's beginningless. He's primeval. He's unending. So, and the cause of all causes. There's some explanation from the Brahma Samhita, many verses there, which can be chanted. Also, usually devotees read the first one and then they jump to some of the other later texts. We only have the 5th chapter of the Brahma Samhita. And incidentally, it was discovered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu while he was touring in South India. He found it. It's completely amazing. He loved this Brahma Samhita because it speaks directly about Krishna's transcendental form, his abode, the way the universe is constructed, so many wonderful things which are completely beyond our perception. So by hearing, we can understand, we can visualize, or we can meditate. So this is important because we, without being given entrance into the mercy, of Krishna consciousness, there's no way for us to succeed in the human form of life. If the goal of life is to surrender to Krishna by always thinking about him, becoming his devotee, but I never heard about him, I don't have any idea who he is, how is it possible? How is it possible? It's not. Therefore, these temples, these books are so important. If you come to this temple, you associate with the Archa Vigraha, and you see Krishna. That impression never leaves you. I think I told some devotees, my parents, they took me to take darshan of Sri Sri Radha Kalachandji when I was young. I never forgot that in a deep way, in a way which was more subtle than my remembrance. But that was with me. That transcendental impression never left. I only realized it when I went back to the temple after a long time, after practicing devotional service, after coming here. But it was like, oh wow, I remember this person. He has a big head. He does. It's completely amazing. He's completely a beautiful person. Has very red feet. It's very striking. His features are completely transcendental. And he stands in a huge altar which is so incredibly ornate. You can't even imagine how they did that. It's beautiful. It's amazing. So that that was there. That it was carrying me. It was blessing me. That interaction with Krishna's temple and Krishna's prasadam. It's amazing, And I didn't even get the books, But what's interesting is that Krishna never left me alone. He kept trying to bring it to my life. And then these words, they really add, they really add to the meditation. Because you have something to grab onto. You have some information. Right? So we should mold our life always to think of Krishna. Now, at the beginning of this purport, Prabhupada says you should not become an official meditator. This is a type of a warning for people who are kind of superficial in their transcendental activities. They're just on the preliminary stage of trying to kind of avoid activities. They adopt meditation. We recently heard a very good example of this, which is very practical and kind of humorous. Does anybody remember? The strobe light, right, from this morning. So Prabhupada was invited to the Nanda ashram, which is kind of a famous place for the kind of impersonalist, followers of this Dr. Mishra. And it was obviously very nice and scenic and all that. And they went there. Prabhupada had been there before he had his own troupe. And there's video footage of that. It's very attractive. He's like a gem. He's like, it's wonderful. So he's there, and he was Dr. Mishra had a lot of women disciples that like to do hatha yoga and like come up from the city on the weekends or whatever and like do stretching and stuff and like listen to Dr. Mishra. And Prabhupada went there, and he was charming all of them with his transcendental, affection for Krishna. And he was also cooking there, and he would cook, and he'd cook a lot. He cooked for 20 people easily, and they would try to learn from him. Anyway, so they went back there because the relationship hadn't been completely finished. Prabhupada was expert at that. Prabhupada, on a personal level, is described to have, shown care and affection for Dr. Mishra. But when it came to the philosophy, he's like a lion. Did not tolerate that. And actually, he was asked to basically get out, get away from Dr. Mishra's people because he's a personalist and he stands up for Krishna. Because Prabhupada is Krishna's friend, very dear friend and devotee. So when people are convincing or they're speaking against my friend, saying he doesn't exist, he's not real, don't waste your time, of course he's going to be upset. So anyway, they went there, and there was a strobe light. There was a meditation room. There was a strobe light, and Dr. Mishra was away, and he said, while you're here and you come to this meditation room, you just meditate on the strobe light. That's completely useless. There's one benefit. While you stare at the strobe light, you don't really do sinful activity. That's it. That's your benefit. While you stare at the strobe light, you're safe from Maya. In terms of, well, not Maya. You're in Maya, but you're safe from doing sin. So, of course, when you're breathing, you're killing insects and all that. So you do get karma for that because it's a material activity. But more or less speaking, you're avoiding the 4 pillars of sinful life. Right, these are 4 pillars, and from these come all the varieties of sin which are permeating this whole society. That's why if you stop doing these 4 activities, no illicit sex, that means any unauthorized sexual activity. That means authorized sexual activity is within a marriage, within a marriage for procreation. That's very important. There's some other nuances too. I'm not an expert, but those basic things for procreation is there between man and wife. So that means, so many other things are illicit, And then there's no meat eating, fish or eggs, and no gambling or, like that. There's also no intoxication to tea, caffeinated teas or cigarettes, which, in this society are like about as harmless as it gets. Also unauthorized, So, if we stay away from those, then basically speaking, we're sinless in this world. When we take up the transcendental or the yama, which is to chant the holy name of Krishna according to the order of the spiritual master. So we are also following the regulations according to the rules of the spiritual master. We get transcendental benefit for that too. Now that we've been instructed by a transcendental personality, Srila Prabhupada, to do so, it's not material anymore. Our abstaining from eating meat isn't the same as a vegan's abstaining from meat. Ours is transcendental now. It's for Krishna. Because it's an order given by the spiritual master to satisfy Krishna only. So therefore the mercy of contact with the spiritual master, so amazing. Now, we don't want to become an official meditator, and even though we can be free from sinful activities for a short moment by performing meditations of different types, impersonal meditations on the breath, or on the nose, or on a light, or on a leaf, or a crack, or a blankness, or a zero-ness, or any of those varieties, right? By performing those types of meditations, then we're not achieving this recommendation here, which is to think of Krishna. Now, after talking about this point, he says this is the most confidential part of knowledge. Now, confidential means it's not easily understood, right? So in spite of this being a completely open secret, basically shouted to the world in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of editions of Bhagavad Gita, nobody is thinking about Krishna. So it's confidential. Confidential means there's some conditions that you have to understand to actually enter into it. Some conditions. So that condition means to be a friend of Arjuna. Be a friend of Krishna, and you become a friend of Krishna by becoming friend of Krishna's friends. That's called the parampara system. So we're recommended in this verse, or in this purport, to follow the path of Arjuna. Now Arjuna heard the Bhagavad, and then he egged, right? So if we do that, if we understand Bhagavad Gita, then we have understood properly. And if we understand in any other way, so you always have a checkpoint. Because what was Arjuna you want me to do? Right? We hear that in text 73. Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy, and I am now firm and free from doubt, and I am prepared to act according to your instructions." Perfect disciple. Perfect disciple. He heard it. He gives the credit to his guru, and then he prepares himself to act according to his guru's instructions. We pray that we can become disciples like Arjuna. So, in the end of this, Prabhupada spends a lot of time highlighting the form of Sri Krishna. Now, like we mentioned at the beginning of this discussion on this verse, we have, practically speaking, these three tools. We see a picture of Krishna. We see Krishna's transcendental form as the Archa Vigraha, a statue or so-called statue of Krishna. And we hear about Krishna. No need to speculate. No need. You lose progress by imagining. You don't make progress by imagining. You make progress by receiving, and developing surrender in that way. So we get so many wonderful pictures of Krishna. We get Krishna's holy name. We get Krishna's transcendental descriptions, which are completely authorized. The description of Krishna's form is Krishna. So take shelter of these descriptions. Let's go for it. The very form with two hands carrying a flute, the bluish boy with a beautiful face and peaked hair. Jai. Right, so there's plates here. There's a beautiful plate of Krishna, which Krishnendu has highlighted for us to take a look at. Yeah, plate 24. Wow. It's perfect. You don't have to speculate. There he is. He's right here. So, specifically, in this Krishna consciousness movement, we are advised not to artificially try to imagine Krishna's leelas and Krishna's form and all this stuff. It's a type of a humility to be able to receive, to be given a gift, receive it. It's actually humble. If somebody's proud, they never accept a gift. I don't need your charity. Just like you may meet somebody on the street. In the name of being nice, they say, well, why don't you give it to somebody who needs it? Actually, it's a pride. It's a pride that I don't need your help. I don't need your assistance. I don't need your knowledge. I don't care for it. I'm fine. So this is a problem. This is not how Arjuna received Bhagavad Gita. This is not how Arjuna received Krishna. Right? So, we're very fortunate because by chanting the Maha Mantra, Prabhupada has guaranteed us again and again that by simply, attentively hearing and chanting the Maha Mantra, executing devotional service according to the instructions of the spiritual master, Prabhupada's instructions are not self-made. Prabhupada's instructions are all based off of the information which has been provided by the Goswamis on how to execute devotional service. Hari Bhakti Vilas by Sanatana Goswami. This Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. All these transcendental books, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, under those instructions, we're executing this program. Krishna's name, right? Name is first. When you meet, this name is like most merciful. Therefore, we usually start with the name. If I distribute the name, right, it's a little bit more accessible than Krishna's form or Krishna's qualities, Krishna's position as the Supreme Godhead. Wait, it's not me? People get scared when you say God, We say Krishna, he sneaks right in. Oh, it's Krishna. I don't have to accept him as God right away, but they chanted his name. Now they're finished. So, by chanting this holy name, his form, his qualities, his paraphernalia, his lila, his devotees will be completely revealed to the sincere chanter of the holy name. And which is mentioned quite a bit, I think Krishna mentions it quite a bit. Chanting the holy name offenselessly isn't something that you... So that's what ready to offer respect to everybody, and not expecting any respect for ourselves. In such a humble state of mind, we can chant the holy name constantly. So, okay. So that was enough there. Now, there's this verse, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sin-free action, do not fear. I really wanted to get to this verse, which is 67 and 68, but that's basically like, I was talking with Maharaj just now, and this morning I went into his office and I was kind of expressing some doubts, as usual. And I expressed my doubts, and he dispelled them. So I was just expressing some doubts about something, and he said, prime the pump. Prime the pump. It's actually an aphorism. No, an acronym. No. Something like that. Metaphor. I forgot what they call them. You see, it's like, it means something. It's used to mean something else. What? Idiom? Euphemism? Yeah. So he said, prime the pump. And he said, look it up. So I put in quotes, prime the pump. He said, to encourage the success of something or to help it along. Take some action which encourages the success of something or helps it to grow or develop. No, give him a mic. Yeah, that's why you're here. Wait, try it again.
When you have a two-stroke engine, I don't know the dynamics of the engine and how it works, but there's a pump on there and you have to pump the button. It pushes gas into the engine so that when you start it, it has fuel in there to start running, and you have to put it on a choke so it limits the airflow or the gas flow going in there. But usually there's a button you push like 6 times or something on like chainsaws, weed whackers, these type of things. So you prime the pump to put the gas in there, so then when you actually try to do the activity, you're encouraging it to start. So then that's, you take that saying and apply it to something else, and then that's the idiom, the euphemism, the metaphor, whatever it is.
Thank you. So this priming the pump, specifically he was mentioning about like Bhakti program. You got to prime the pump. You know, we have to do what we can to encourage the system to get started, boot up. You got to put some energy. Let's get some men. And I was actually speaking with, I was at the plaza. I just wanted to go out, but I was trying to chant my japa while I was with them on Harinam. And I was thinking about this, prime the pump, you know? Yeah. Then there was these two guys, and I just tried the technique. Ashish Prabhu, he gave this technique. He says, you just say hi. You just say hi. Now, I like it because it's very scientific. It takes all the pressure out. Just say hi, and you raise your hand. It's like that. Hi. And if they smile with teeth, then they're ripe enough to talk to. Very interesting. So, if they smile with teeth, then they showed me that, hey, they want to associate with me. So then I know that I don't have all the time in the world to talk to every single person. But if I try to talk to every single person, by asking them if they want to talk to me, practically speaking, in a nice way, which is like low pressure, then, you know, hi. Someone says, who's this monk? What the heck? They may like smile at no teeth. So anyway, it's just a technique, and I used it. I've been using it, and these boys, they were ecstatic. I just said hi to them, and they got happy. So Krishna inspired them in the heart. Something was interesting about me, whatever I had going on. So I gave them the books, and then they bought the books, and I went in the car, and I talked to Maharaj, and I said that, I was thinking that this is the, doing this preaching, prime the pump. I gotta try to get some juice into the system for the Bhakti program, get the temple really cooking. And he said, yeah, make some devotees. I said, if I don't do this, then I'll just think about Maya. That's it. He said, yeah, make some devotees. So that was what I was thinking, is that this is very special knowledge that we have, and it just gets sweeter and sweeter the more that we practice purely and congregationally, and we get a lot of credit and we get protection by sharing it with others. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai.